Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Johnny, could you lead us in prayer, please?
Let us pray. Father, we humble ourselves before you today and give you thanks for all the many blessings that you pour out upon us. We're thankful for this club and its work in Batesville, in Arkansas, and across this world. We hope that we as citizens of this town can continue to serve our fellow man in a way that will be beneficial to all. Bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to your service. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Johnny. I do not see anyone else in here, so I understand there's a lot of really good soloists here in the community, and so we're going to ask them to lead us in Rotary.
Rotary first one.
R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary. R-O-T-A-R-Y is on land and sea. From north to south, from east to west, he profits most who serves the best. R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary. Amen.
Well, our president for the day sent me a note saying that he would like for me to sit in today, so you're dealing with next year's president today. So let's see it. I got Sergeant Arms report. Nothing today, huh? How about the second? We're busy selling tickets over here.
Selling tickets.
Amanda, would you give us the secretary report, please?
Yes, I see that we have a couple of high school students with us today. If they would stand and introduce themselves, I would just love that right now.
Hey, we're from Batesville High School Student Council, and my name's Allison Fredericks. My name's Caitlin.
Thanks for having us. And I see that Joseph is back with us from the Guard. We're glad to have him back. Thank you for being here, Joseph. All the guests that I noticed today, I am sending around a sign-up sheet for the banquet, the RI banquet that's going to be at the Clinton Library on Thursday evening.
It's been this way.
Has it? Okay. Well, I've got it over here if you want to sign up. The Clinton Library on Thursday, February the 15th at 7 o'clock. There'll be several that are going. And if you would need a carpool, I'm sure there'll be some carpools available. RLI, I know some of you that have been around Rotary for a while, y'all remember that for a while our district did a district leadership program. I think I'm the only one left that went through it, but it has not been active for the past 2 or 3 years. The district is revamping that. They're calling it RLI, and I am one of the administrators for that program, and it starts up again on March the 3rd, and it consists of 3 different classes. They're all only day-long classes that'll be usually held in Little Rock and Jonesboro. Each session is a $50 session. The district is willing to pay the first session, the first $50 fee of anyone in our district that is willing to attend. If anyone is interested in that program, please talk to me about it. I really think our club needs to have at least one representative, maybe somebody that's coming up like Dennis or Donna, or maybe a newer member like Aaron. This would get you some real good insight into Rotary and the district and what we're all about. And we can't have more than one, so if you're interested in that, please talk to me, and we're going to talk about maybe the club paying the other 2 fees so that you won't be out anything on that. And you could carpool with me because I'll be facilitating the events. The trap shoot, I have reached out to some people about making a deal on a lawnmower possibly for us to raffle off. I'm still waiting to hear back on the powers that be with that, so as soon as I hear on it, I'll let you know, and we'll start selling raffle tickets as soon as we can. If you have any other ideas, though, please let me know, because this is not a for sure thing yet, so we still need to keep looking for that. I have talked to Fox Creek Barbecue, and they are willing to provide food that day again, just like they did last year, and we will cut out concessions. We won't worry about a concession stand this year on that deal. Scholarships. The scholarships are all out to all 5 schools in the area. If you know any graduating seniors at Batesville, Southside, Midland, Newark, or Cave City this year, scholarship apps are due back into me by February the 10th, so that's coming up soon. So anybody that's going to be a senior, and RILA apps. Anybody at those same schools that are a junior or, no, sophomore or junior. 10th or 11th graders, anybody that might want to go to the Rotary Leadership Academy school for the weekend. We're looking at that as well, so we need to get those in. That's all that I know.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to put in a plug for the foundation dinner in Little Rock. I really enjoyed that for the last 2 years, and I would encourage as many people to go as we possibly could have. Deanna, do you want to refresh our memory about Help and Hope?
Yes, next Wednesday is our time that we work there at 5:30. There will be a key. So come on out and join us.
Not this Wednesday,
A
but
week
next.
from Wednesday. We spend 1 hour there and we make a big difference. We get it ready for them to serve their clients I guess on Friday. They use what we pack up for them. So we usually have a good turnout and we have fun while we're there. So join us.
I see some representatives from Lyon have shown up from the Rotaract Club. Would y'all mind introducing yourselves to us?
I'm Tom Maloney, first out line, part of our upcoming Rotary Club we're trying to start.
I'm Emerson Smith, I'm also freshman line.
Zach Poe, and I'm a freshman.
Do we have any announcements? If not, I'd like to ask Wayne Smith to come and introduce our speaker today.
I have the honor of introducing the person that's probably responsible for most of the population here. Batesville. Dr. Jones is a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist in a private practice here in Batesville. Dr. Jones is a second-generation physician. His father, E.T. Jones, practiced ophthalmology in Batesville, and Dr. Jones' daughter is continuing with the family tradition as a registered nurse here at White River Health Center. Dr. Jones graduated from the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences in Little Rock, and he also completed his OBGYN residency there. He joined WRMC staff in 1983. That's the reason I said, that's a long time. He's certified by the American Board of Obstetricians and Gynecology. He's a fellow of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. He's accepted by the American Institute of Ultrasound Medicine, and Dr. Jones embraces medical technology and the use of 3D ultrasound and advanced surgical techniques, such as the Da Vinci robotic assisted surgery to care for his patients, which I think he's going to talk about a little bit today. Outside medicine, Dr. Jones is an amateur radio operator, I believe, and enjoys fishing, music, spending time outside. It says our amazing state of Arkansas, so I'll go with that. Please help me welcome Dr. Jones.
Thanks, Wayne. Thanks for that nice introduction. That's good to be back to Rotary. I was a member here years ago when it was y'all were down the street at the other restaurant, as was my late father. Well, today, I know as community leaders, you like to stay abreast of what the latest is going on in medicine, and particularly our local hospital. So I'd like to talk about Da Vinci surgery, and actually, we have been doing robotic Da Vinci surgery at WRMC since 2008. We recently upgraded our unit, and so I'd like to just review that with you. And medicine is full of jargon and terminology, so I want to run through a few definitions, and then we're going to talk about how surgery has changed over my career from conventional surgery to or minimally invasive surgery. We'll talk about the particulars of the Da Vinci unit, and of course the pros and cons, the economics, and then I'll be happy to take some questions. Actually, Aaron, you got this thing, the bullet points, yeah. And I'm going to be focused on women's health, gynecology surgery. Hysterectomy is the primary use for the Da Vinci unit. There are about 650,000 hysterectomies done in the United States each year, so there's a huge usage of surgical techniques and economic. That has got and for a lot of female, we're not going to delve into a lot of medical aspects, but just kind of keep clicking there, Aaron. But most of them, when I first went into practice, were done through an abdominal incision. Go to the next slide, actually. But actually, we're just going to, there's female parts. This is what we usually focus on taking out with the Da Vinci unit. Hysterectomy refers to taking the uterus, the tubes and ovaries are removed as a separate entity. That's called a sublinguophorectomy. The pap smear is taken from here. You hear that referred to a lot. Keep going. Next slide, actually. So, as I mentioned, the approaches to hysterectomy. When I first went into practice, virtually all of them were done. Make an incision like that, or an incision like that. And some of them were done through the vagina as well. The reason for that is we had no technology to do it any other way. When I first went into practice, we did have the availability of what's called a laparoscope, a small scope, usually 5 to 10 millimeters, that could be introduced into the abdominal cavity. We used that almost exclusively just for looking around. We were able to do some simple procedures, when I say simple, drainage cysts, doing tubal sterilizations, but we're very restricted because of our instrumentation. I've actually brought an old style instrument to show you what we were up against. The other thing is when I first went into practice, we did not have any video system. So when I did a laparoscopy, the patient would, for example, be laying here asleep. I would have a scope in the abdomen. I'd be holding the scope like this and operating like this. This is old school, but that was the technology. And the instruments were like this. This is your basic kind of old school instrument. Typically, it's got some sort of grasper or cutter on the end. It's a rigid instrument. Another thing, think about this, when you're working, just to kind of mechanics, it's introduced in the abdominal cavity, so the fulcrum is going to be the patient's abdomen. So if you wanted to work over here, you had to go over here. You had to go exactly non-intuitively, and you just had to train yourself to work backwards. Or if you're working like this, it's even worse, because you're trying to look through a scope to do this. The other thing, you're battled. If you're working inside the abdominal cavity, let's say there was a problem down here, there was a structure. There's no way to get to it with a stick. You can only go so far. There's no wristing on this. Now, they did come out with instruments that would do 10 or 20 degrees, but still, if you got this and you can't move your wrists, you can't play the piano or guitar if those were your hands. You'd have a hard time eating your lunch. And doing surgery, it was really challenging. Just keep going. So this concept of minimally invasive surgery, of course, we're all techies even back then. Technology advanced, and keep going. We want to go from that to this, multiple functions. Just keep spinning through. We'll talk more details. This is just the traditional incisions, and as we've got, we progressed to the minimally invasive surgery. So, yeah, just keep going there. Okay. Minimally invasive surgery, just to kind of the evolution on this. First thing we achieved was we got video monitors. So instead of having to do this operating, you could stand next to the patient and you would have a video monitor here and you could look. It was still two-dimensional. I'm not a gamer, but I'm sure the younger folks here are gamers. You can imagine doing your stuff and you have no 3D perspective. Again, doing surgery with that is challenging. And we still had no wristing. But even with that, we started doing hysterectomies. And the surgeons jumped in there and they started doing gallbladders. Now, technology advanced. Let's just kind of keep spinning through these. The whole concept of minimally invasive surgeries, if you were I like to do it too. Okay, I mentioned the drawbacks. 2D imaging, rigid instruments, you're working across the room. Fatigue. Doing a complex surgery when you're standing like this for 3 hours wears you down. So, what are we going to do about that? Well, the military initially is where this all started. They had a concept of developing a remote robotic unit to be used on the battlefield where a technician could stick a scope inside of an injured soldier and then a surgeon at a remote location could operate. For a variety of reasons, this is back in the 80s, that did not work. So it was picked up by a private company called Intuitive Surgical, and they refined it for the private sector. And Aaron, keep going there, please. Yeah. So this concept of operating remotely, and just kind of a quick comment on it. I know people say robotic surgery, they make it sound like we plug something in and go in the lounge and read the newspaper when it's going on. It's not that at all. The concept is you have a unit here that you introduce the scopes into the patient. It has arms that attach to those scopes in various ports. And then the surgeon will sit right next to the patient inside of a console where you have that's the setup where your arms are attached to basically hooked to devices that mimic in the robotic, it will mimic your arm motions, and you've got 3D imaging. So yeah, go to the next slide. So on the Da Vinci surgery, the power of this, there's several things. Wristing, the instruments they created with Intuitive Surgical, no longer do you have this, where there's rigid, you've got this now. The instruments rotate every direction. When you attach your hands inside the console, those instruments completely mimic the movement of your hands. And instead of having to go this way to work to the right, you just reach up and grab that area. And if it's kind of like Google Earth, if you want to look closer, you just drag it up to you. If you want to reach over something, no longer are you limited like this. You reach over and you reach down and grab it. The optics are three-dimensional. You sit inside of a hood with these goggles on, and I can only describe it as, I think, it's a movie in the 60s, Fantastic Voyage. I think they did a remake of it, where basically the idea is that people are shrunk down and introduced into the human body. The effect is pretty wild. You feel like you're inside the abdominal cavity, just like a person in there walking around. If you want to go over and operate on something, you just go to that location and work on it. And this is the hand controls. Furthermore, since you're sitting down inside of a console, it's much easier to do long, complex surgeries because you're not suffering from fatigue. Next slide there, please. Again, this wristing, I can't overstate how much power that it is to be able to move like this with ground structures. It makes dissection of adhesions, of working around. The human body is, a lot of things are round, distorted. It lets you work around corners. The instruments are tiny. when we do a Da Vinci surgery, we put 4 ports in. They're 8 millimeters in size. And you attach a scope to one. 2 of them, you have your arms that you work with, and then the 4th one is for your assistant, the hand you suture, because they've got everything tiny now, so they can pass you a stitch in there, and you can just sew like you're right out here in the room. But the instruments are tiny, and they have a whole variety of things, much more than when we started. We can seal vessels, we can dissect, we can cut, suction, a lot of power in that too. There's the hand controls, and you hook your fingers in, and it mimics. I was thinking about bringing videos, but I didn't know if that'd be appropriate at lunch. But if you want to see how detailed this is, go on YouTube. I know there's a really great video on YouTube of a fella doing origami, paper folding with Da Vinci. And they fold up this little intricate thing, and I think, well, that's pretty good. And then they push it up next to a dime. It's like this big. And the console, sorry, the idea is. So anyway, you can do immense amount more with this surgery than you can with the other units. And we can kind of Da Vinci actually refers just to the name of the robotic unit. It's made by a company called Intuitive Surgical. And really, robotic surgery is just one part of minimally invasive surgery. We still use conventional instruments. Frankly, there's some procedures, there's more economics than just using the old sticks that we're all trained on. And if we can do them that way, we do them. That's what we call the sticks now versus Da Vinci. So we all love data, and I put these in here, but I can tell you, I can kind of summarize this for you. A lot of the data has changed so much, it's hard to find current literature that really reflects what's going on. Any new technology, there is always a learning curve. And in medicine, a learning curve means complications. And I know Da Vinci surgery about 10 years ago kind of got dinged. There's quite a bit of articles out there about complications. Just like when general surgeons started doing gallbladders with the laparoscope, there was a bump in complications. Those have dropped down really as it reflects more experience, more training, and also we've just learned some of the unique things about Da Vinci surgery that caught us at the beginning. We figured out how to avoid that. But the bottom line on costs and economics, the readmission rates are lower with Da Vinci surgery than with conventional surgery. Cost, it's hard to put a finger on. There's initial cost of the unit, which is high. The longevity of these units is pretty good. Now, we got our original Da Vinci unit in 2008. We just took it out of commission here. We got almost 10 years out of it. How many people have got the same cell phone or computer from 10 years ago? So, that's pretty good longevity. And as other things, it's hard to quantitate. They're not factored into hospital costs or economic costs and benefits to patients. Most patients with Da Vinci hysterectomy, like I did one last Friday, it was a case that when I would have first gone into practice, I would have done as an open case. She would have been in a hospital probably 3 to 5 days. By the end of the day, she's got her catheter out. She's on a regular diet. London is ready to go home the next morning. And I guess the other benefit, which is not measured in hospital costs, is that person is back to work in a week as opposed to 6 weeks. So those are not factored in. The bottom line is probably a few $100s extra cost maybe with the Da Vinci. And you can flip to the next slide here. Some of these numbers, just kind of keep going. This is an interesting number. Readmission cost for robotic hysterectomy, if there's a complication, $32,000. If there's a complication with abdominal hysterectomy, $328,000. That's old style. I don't know if those numbers mean anything because in this day and age, if we do a case abdominally, usually it's something awful. And so if they've got something bad going on, or something more extensive, these are probably on our big advanced cancer surgeries and things like that. So length of time for a surgery, when we first started doing these, they were hours long. Now a typical Da Vinci hysterectomy takes a little over an hour. It's probably shorter. Blood loss, you can see here. A lot of times Da Vinci surgery is almost negligible because you have such good access to all the vessels, you can see them at a microscopic level. Keep going there. This, I threw these in here because everybody wants data, but the data is good for the Da Vinci surgery. So there's 3 systems. We've got the X over here, which is really is good for a hospital our size. Is an excellent unit. That's used primarily by gynecologists at our hospital and urologists for prostate surgery. And Dr. Emery or Brown may have been down to talk to you years ago. You know, it's converted radical prostatectomy from a multi-day hospitalization, weeks recovery to, you know, they're home in a day or 2. It's been just amazing for them. The general surgeons are beginning to do some of their big cases they did abdominally, and they're having good results too. And Dr. Darnell, he's kind of interested.
What's the difference in these machines, Doctor?
This, I don't even know about that. This, basically, doing the X and the XI, they're the same except that the XI allows you to go to the upper abdomen. That's me. Of course, from a gynecologist point of view, we're staying pretty much south of the belly button, so it's not an issue with us. So benefits to patients, you know, let me kind of run through them. Incisions, recovery, pain, how do you quantitate pain? Return to normal activities. I've had, you know, the most extreme one I've had is I had a nurse at the hospital I did a Da Vinci on a Monday, and Thursday I went up and she's working on the floor. And it was not my idea, so what are you doing here? But I mean, she felt well enough that she was back to work. She said, I just needed to get back up here, so that's not what I usually recommend. So our goals, you know, just to review, our goals are to try to reduce pain, try to get people recovered faster, to try to make the incisions smaller, improve, you know, cosmesis, you know, better looking scars, and a quicker recovery to normal activities. That's what we want to achieve.
Dr. Jones, if I could just interject, one of the things that I think our physicians, like Dr. Jones and others in the same field, have really adapted to this type of technology. One of the things that, like he's mentioned, is the reduced stay and the reduced possibility of infection, okay, because you got less exposure. And the reduced time in the hospital. Where we're struggling with the public a little bit is you're looking at normally say a 3 to 5 day stay that went down to a 1 or 2 day stay, but the cost of the stay is no different. And that's because of the cost of the technology that we're using. That's included in the charges. So I think it's more of a learning curve at this point for the public to understand than it is in our physicians. So I just wanted to throw that.
No, that's a great point, Wayne. I mean, exactly on the cost, what they see is not going to be, you know, much shorter because they're in a hospital shorter time, just because we're able to achieve more early, you know, quicker. Of course, that's what technology is. Any questions or anything?
Dr. Jones, tell us what's different about this machine than the one you just replaced, and what's your learning curve on one of those as to from the point of you getting it and you becoming proficient and doing it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this boils down, our new machine was at the end of its life cycle. We were at the point where it wasn't going to be able to get service anymore. So the new machine has got better optics. It's got better instrumentation. It's like anything else, they jazz it up. When you get a new cell phone, you know, you have more bells and whistles. They've got better vessel sealers for coagulating blood vessels, less collateral damage. And we got some new instrumentation. But the learning curve, I mean, the company has got a great name, Intuitive. I mean, it really is intuitive. I was trained, I mean, the two of us are kind of their most experienced, Melvin and I. We had a pretty short learning curve because we have done so much of it the old school way. In fact, with sticks, that if you can do it with this, getting on Da Vinci, it's like going from a, you know, some subcompact to getting in a Porsche. You know, it's just. But the learning curve is very quick. I mean, our protocol was we took a course, and we had experienced surgeons come in and proctor us, and then they would not agree to. They would sign off and say, "Okay, you guys are capable of doing it." And for the newer people coming out who are trained, we got new gynecologists in town. They're up to speed immediately.
An observation, your original instrument there sort of looks like a hot glue gun with a probe.
Yeah.
I thought it was more like a drill.
Yeah, if you want to see the thing and see, but, you know, right here, pass it around, see, but we did a lot of surgery with these old sticks and everything. This is some sample rough left. Pass it around.
It's a museum piece now, right?
Yeah, I mean, we still actually use them for simple cases.
Sure, brother.
But you can imagine trying to do detailed work and then stand like this for that was really, gosh, you know.
We could do remote tire patching.
Yeah. Good for getting a hook out of a fish mouth, you know.
Sure would make you deal on it.
Yeah. The question I had is, you mentioned when you were talking about the robotics of the Da Vinci, how it can do so many different things. So if you're doing one procedure, do you have to withdraw from the abdomen, have a technician replace it with another instrument, go back in to?
Yeah, actually, during a Da Vinci surgery, we switch instruments. Certain times I'll use vessel sealers and a scissors. Sometimes I'll use I need a needle driver when I'm going to sew. And the technician just pulls it out and puts a different instrument right in. It's set up for patient safety that if I move it to a location, it's locked. So when she takes it out, I put it up in a space that's safe. She pulls it out, puts another one in, it goes right to the safe spot. And you know, just one other thing made me think about it. Our hospital's got a great team. You know, talking about doing surgery, but we cannot do it without our team of surgical technicians who are amazing. I could, in fact, I joke with them. I said I could do this operation without her saying a word to you, because they're. I mean, before I even asked for it, they got some. You know, they're handing it to me, and they really have. It's a team effort, and that's one reason we can do them in an hour. We're not hurrying. There's no speed or anything, but everybody knows who is on a team. Everybody knows their place. Everybody knows what they're going to do. It goes smooth. A couple of questions, Ben.
Question. So what is, like, I know we're comparing like risk of surgery, and you have a standard risk anyway when you go into surgery, but what are specific concerns, as with any other surgery?
Unique to the Da Vinci, is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
One thing is just to get detailed on this, when you do a hysterectomy from above, you do your dissection down, then before you start the procedure, you actually sew a plastic cup to the cervix up in the top of the vagina. That's a target and a safety thing. We identify that through the scope and we cut against that. That pushes adjacent structures, bowel, ureter out of the way. Once that's cut, then the specimen's pulled out of the vagina, and then I sew the vagina up from above. Initially, there was a whole rash of that incision of the vagina bursting open, tearing open. And we really kind of identified the main risk factor on that is excess use of burning, too much cautery on that area, because we have to take little fine scissors and with cautery on it and cut around it to do do that. Really, I've not seen one here probably in several years. You had a whole rash of them to start with, because everybody's just quit using very much cautery and sewing it a little differently. That seems to be unique to Da Vinci surgery. That's the main thing. Yes, sir.
That was
All the standard risks still apply. I mean, it's still, you got small risk of infection, bleeding, anesthesia, damage to the bowel and bladder. Occasionally, I'd say one caveat I always tell patients on the Da Vinci surgery is sometimes I'll look in there and I find disease, I cannot do it with the Da Vinci. I've found that if there's just a huge amount of scar tissue, or sometimes if the uterus is so big it obstructs the view of the lower aspect, sometimes you just got to go back old school, nail, make an incision and save it. It's not been used. Any other questions about it?
Do you usually know ahead of time whether you're going to do the Da Vinci or what type you're going to do before you get there?
We have a plan, or, a Da Vinci surgery, or obviously if we go in there, that's our intent, but like I say, I always say, hey, there's a chance I may find something unexpected. Until I actually look in there, you don't always know what you're up against. And if I see something that I think is unsafe, and all of us operate the same way, then we're going to stop and do the safest thing, which may be a conventional incision. Any other questions? Thank you for having me. It's been great to be back.
Thank you so much for that interesting presentation. In our strive to improve literacy in the community, we'll be presenting a book in your name to the local library. Do we have any announcements? For the sake of Rotary? If not, our drawing.
Here we go,
Shake
Jerry.
them up, make sure one ends up like, with all the rest of us losers, as we call them. They run harder, and you'll be run down.
231-8133.
It's right before us, see?
Should have gotten in there sooner.
How many cards are left?
Right around 20.
What we got?
Oh,
bless your heart.
I think we topped $1,300 today, so we're over $1,300.
You're bad for you, Steve.
Any other comments from the sake of Rotary? If not, us end our meeting as we always do, with a four-way test. 1, is it the truth? 2,
Is it fair to all concerned?
3,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
and 4.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We're adjourned.